So I'm going to hand over to our first speaker. Now, unfortunately, we were really hoping that the Minister for Civil Society, Tracy Crouch, was going to join us. And very unfortunately, at the end of last week, she had to go to America for on governmental business. So we are really, really appreciated that Helen Musgrove from the DCMS very kindly stepped in to Tracy. I just need to say, Helen isn't Tracy. She's not a politician. She's a civil servant. She can talk about what the department is doing and some priorities the department have got, but isn't here to talk on behalf of the government or a minister or a political party. So we're going to hear from Helen, and then we'll move back on to the APPG results.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting DCMS to speak at your event today. I know that Tracy was really hoping to attend. It's an anti-doping crisis, something to do with her other responsibilities on sport. That's meant that she's had to travel to Washington at short notice. So she's therefore asked me to speak in her place. I'm the head of Youth and Social Action in DCMS. So this is a really important time of year for youth policy, with the Youth Work Week starting on Monday, the UK Youth Parliament in the House of Commons next Friday, I Will Week and other high-profile events such as the Children's Commissioner's National Takeover Day later in November. The report of the APPG launched today, the recent announcements from the Home Office around tackling youth violence, and our own civil society strategy published in August, I think show that youth work and young people's issues generally are moving a lot closer to the centre of political and policy debate. As Lee said, I'm a civil servant and not a politician, so you'll understand the need for me to focus on youth policy responsibilities rather than the politics of it. So in the civil society strategy, the government set out a vision for ensuring that all young people have opportunities to develop the skills, networks and resilience that can improve their life chances, fulfil their potential and support them to avoid negative pathways. The youth work that many of you are involved in has a core role to play in delivering this vision, and the strategy highlights the transformational impact that youth services and trained youth workers can have, especially for young people facing multiple barriers or disadvantage. In recognition of this, through the 40 million Youth Investment Fund, DCMS and the Big Lottery Fund are helping 91 community-based organisations in disadvantaged areas to expand and improve local activities for young people. We expect over 300,000 young people to benefit from this. So some examples of the projects that we're funding include the Hive, a state-of-the-art youth zone in the Wirral, opened in 2017. Within 2 months of opening, had 2,000 members. Right through to projects in much more rural areas, such as the YMCA Kings Lynn, which has supported a variety of community-based provision across scattered communities of North Norfolk. I'm sure you'll all know of many similar examples from your own experiences. However, as you all know, the public funding of open access youth services is primarily the responsibility of local authorities. So they have a statutory duty, which is a bit wordy to be honest, to secure as far as is reasonably practicable sufficient educational and recreational leisure time activities to improve the well-being of young people, which is a bit of a mouthful. And the government recognises the different priorities that local authorities have for young people, and it acknowledges that the guidance which sets out this duty hasn't been revised since 2012, and an awful lot's happened since then to change the way that these services are provided. Pressures on public sector finances have meant that new thinking has had to emerge in local youth services, supporting innovation, new partnerships and collaborations spanning public, private and civil society partners, but we appreciate that times have been tough. And it's in recognition of this changing context for local youth services that the civil society strategy committed to reviewing the statutory guidance so that we can provide greater clarity of government's expectations on local authorities. So we'll be announcing the details in the coming weeks, but it's going to be really important that we capture the views of all stakeholders, including the voice of young people, the organisations that work with them, and the voice of local government in that process. So youth services are a vital part of a wider landscape of interventions which support the vision for young people set out in the civil society strategy. So DCMS has the government's lead on youth policy, and so we've got an important role to play across this agenda. So to talk about some of the work that we've been doing in this space, through the I Will Fund, which many of you will be aware of, I'm sure, we've invested 40 million of joint funding from DCMS and the Big Lottery Fund, which has created at least 650,000 opportunities for young people to take action on the issues that they care about. So this covers areas like environmental action, education, health, loneliness and sport. I think one thing that's interesting about this is that it's levered investment from 20 new funding partners who've matched the 40 million that we put in. So that includes corporate organisations like Virgin Money, charitable trusts and statutory partners like Manchester City Council. So I think that's been really important in increasing the scale of that investment, but also in raising with those funders the profile of the valuable contribution that young people can make. And this sits alongside our commitment to a universal national citizen service, which is available to all young people making vital transition from secondary education into whatever path they choose to take after that point. This programme's helping to create a more responsible, more cohesive and more engaged society. And independent evaluations have consistently demonstrated the positive impacts that NCS delivers to its participants and to their communities. Recognising the importance of arts and sport in improving outcomes for young people, DCMS has also worked with its arm's length bodies to invest almost 500 million in music and arts programmes and over 194 million in sports projects, focusing on children and young people over the last few years. There's a real appetite from across government to improve the life chances of the most vulnerable and disengaged young people. DCMS has secured 90 million of money from dormant bank accounts to help those young people with the most profound barriers to work to meet their full potential, with a particular focus on race disparity. So this money is actually really unique. It's outside the usual constraints of government funding, and we're free to consider bold approaches to investing in long-term solutions. We've also got a great opportunity with this funding to properly test and evaluate different interventions over time, which we hope will leave a legacy of increased youth unemployment, a decreased black and minority ethnic youth unemployment gap nationally, and a solid evidence base for targeted interventions supporting the most disadvantaged young people. This funding will complement the £200 million Youth Endowment Fund, which has recently been announced by the Home Secretary to support early interventions to prevent youth violence. At a time of tightened budgets, commissioners and funders are looking more and more to the evidence base about the impact of services and interventions when making funding decisions. I know that it's a kind of an ongoing challenge for all of us, but that is why evaluation is a really core element of all the programmes that I've talked about. And we've also supported the Centre for Youth Impact, who I think are here today, with core funding of over £1 million to help embed the practice of impact measurement across the country, so that we can make the case for further investment in this area. So everything that I've mentioned so far has been influenced by the voices and opinions of young people themselves. Many of you will be aware of the support that we've given to the Youth Parliament and the kind of extensive lengths we went to make sure that we incorporated the opinions of young people when we were developing the civil society strategy. And as a result of what we heard from young people about how they wanted to influence decision making, we're going to walk the walk on this agenda with our own civil society youth steering group and a national young commissioners and inspectors group, so that we can involve young people directly and meaningfully in the commissioning, monitoring and evaluation of national programmes affecting young people. We really value and welcome the work of representatives bodies like the National Youth Agency, UK Youth, British Youth Council, and the network of regional and local bodies that do so much to advocate for the value of youth work and youth services. And we appreciate the work that the APPG has done, supported by the NYA, to examine the evidence and make proposals on the future of youth work. And will respond to the recommendations of the APPG in due course. We're heading towards the next spending review period. We don't know exactly when the spending review is going to be. We don't know exactly how long it's going to be for, but we do know that we expect it to happen at some point in 2019. That's going to be a really key opportunity for us all. We've got the opportunity to work together and look at the evidence base that been building over the last few years to make a really powerful case for further action on this important agenda. That's all I had to say for now. I can't take questions because of the fact that I'm a civil servant rather than a politician, kind of operating in a slightly political space today. But I'd be really happy to talk to any of you after this event today, just about what I've said, about any of the kind of issues that you'd like to raise. So probably the easiest thing, if you do have questions that you want to raise with me, is to get in touch with Lee, and he'll give you my contact details, and you can give me a call or send me an email, and I will certainly respond. So thank you very much.